somewhere there's a Karen or a Kyle losing their mind. Don't stack the rocks, they say. You know what nature does with all these rocks, you morons? It turns them all over. The water comes up and comes down. The little bugs that you worry about on these rocks, they have to move around all the time just because of nature, and a lot more because of nature than because someone stacks rocks. It's like people worried about people dredging. You know, yeah, I know they try to say, well, what about during the breeding season? Okay, maybe I can go along with that, but the rest of the year, no. The whole river turns every damn rock in there and moves everything with every time it has a flooding event. Boy, those Karens just had a coronary right there. They saw that. They saw that, and they just freaking died. There are a lot of wannabe environmentalists. I'm sure as hell not the most knowledgeable one on the damn planet. But one thing that helped give me a broader perspective when I was slowly approaching my environmental degree was that I was taking a wide variety of other types of courses, mostly in the sciences, but sometimes outside of the sciences, because my interests were so varied and I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. I still don't know really. And I think that helped give a broader perspective than just taking the bare minimum requirements that most students do and getting the recommended minor for your major so you can go on and perform a function in an industry somewhere, looking through a peephole at the issues of the world. So you might have an environmental degree, but you're looking at things through a peephole. Now, if you go to study some other sciences, and outside the sciences, everything isn't science. Business is one I kind of dived into a little bit, but it was mostly sciences. Anyway, I think it gives you a better ability to see through bullshit. And there's a lot of bullshit rules out there, and when you guys are out there trying to impose these bullshit rules on people, it hacks them off. And I think a lot of them, even though they don't have the education to be able to tear down the bullshit you're imposing upon them, they do have the bullshit meter. Somehow they just fucking sense it. So don't just accept everything you're freaking told. Dig into it yourself when it comes to environmental issues. Man-made global warming. If you dig into that enough, you'll figure it out. There's a big old fraud going on there. Big one. Wasn't Florida supposed to be freaking gone by now? I was kind of looking forward to that. Wouldn't it be better without Florida? Just kidding, Florida. But a good flush probably wouldn't hurt you. You know, everybody just leave for a couple of months while the whole thing gets swamped and all those introduced species that don't belong there, you know, get drowned or whatever. There was another thing I caught wind of. I heard, I don't know I probably need to look it up before I say too much on it, but something about somebody recommending that you don't use rainwater because of the air pollution. Now, if that's a real thing going on, that's another one right there. All that rain lands in this lake and in the rivers and the streams where we pull our water supplies out of. That rainwater is about as clean as it's going to freaking get without you tapping into a well that's you know, hasn't been tainted, you know, water that's thousands of years old and man hasn't found a way to screw it up yet. But if they're telling you not to use rainwater in favor of what? Tap water? That stuff is far more polluted than any rainwater. Just believe me. It's out of control. Or bottled water, which half the time is coming out of somebody's tap anywhere. They might filter it a little more and add minerals for taste or whatever they do. But no, that sounds like a bunch of nonsense that's probably going on. Just another ridiculous cause. I mean, it'd be nice to prevent us from doing certain things like this. There's one of those zebra mussels. They attach to things and they can build up and be a problem, but it may be hard to see, but there's little ones. There's little ones everywhere on a lot of these rocks, but the sediment on the bottom, you know, deep down where these are at, the sediment moves around some. You'll notice there'll be rocks at one point, and then later on you might come to that same spot and there'll be sediment on those rocks, and if it buries these under the rocks, these guys got a problem. But you see all them little ones, clearly all those little ones aren't going to grow up. Hopefully the catfish are eating on them and other stuff. They just don't belong here. I've noticed, like you see where I pulled this one off right there, that attachment. I've noticed a lot of rocks that have that little tuft of hairs, it looks like, all over, where something has plucked those suckers off of there, I would guess. They went somewhere. But try and break this sucker open. Of course, these things don't have the decency to get big enough to fiddle with eating, for humans anyway. But the fish will eat these, and good riddance. But I don't know. I think this lake is able to have some kind of some level of resistance to them. The water's just too warm in the shallows, and then the water, as you can see, the water it fluctuates a lot. So they might attach to these rocks here, and when the water gets low enough that those rocks are in water that's too shallow, it's too warm for them, and it'll probably kill them off. As you can see, like, here's my table. See the water's going down. Sometimes that water comes all the way up here, where that, you know, that hole is we looked at one day. That's why I got that table built too. That little, where I can set my phone and set in the water right here. But so, you know, lake with variable, you know, there's really variable the level is, and the temperature's a little hot for them in general, And if this catfish thing is real, if the catfish are really eating on them, that's good. Anyway, that's all for now. Stay out here a little bit longer and try to keep a little cool. Talk to you later.
We face climate change and a media war over that crisis. Climate deniers, people who believe climate change is not happening in any meaningful way, are sometimes painted in the media as fringe characters, as kooks. So this might shock you. A man who co-founded the Weather Channel thinks climate change is a hoax. His name is John Coleman. Before launching the Weather Channel in the early 1980s, he was the original weatherman on Good Morning America. And after launching the channel, he was also a local weatherman in New York, Chicago, and San Diego. Now he's retired, but his recent open letter saying that climate change is, quote, not valid, got a lot of attention and landed him in prime time on Fox News. So what did the Weather Channel do? It very publicly disavowed him. After all, for those who believe that the climate is changing and fast, this is a life and death matter. I've said before here on Reliable Sources that I don't think there are two equal sides to climate change. The scientific consensus is that it's real. The debate is over what to do about it. And the press has to be careful about creating this notion of sides. But Coleman's platform as a co-founder of a channel dedicated to weather is unique, and so is the channel's declaration that it believes climate change is happening. So this morning, both players are here, Coleman and the CEO of the Weather Channel, David Kenny. First, let me bring in John Coleman. He's in San Diego this morning. Thank you for being here.
It's nice to be on CNN. Hello to all your viewers. I resent you calling me a denier. That is a word meant to put me down. I'm a skeptic about climate change, and I want to make it darn clear, Mr. Kenny's not a scientist. I am. He's the CEO of the Weather Channel now. I was the founder of the Weather Channel, not the co-founder.
And I'm glad you did, because I am addicted to the Weather Channel. I watch a lot of cable news.
Now, hold on just a minute. I'm not done. And CNN has taken a very strong position on global warming that it is a consensus. Well, there is no consensus in science. Science isn't a vote. Science is about facts. And if you get down to the hard, cold facts, there's no question about it. Climate change is not happening. There is no significant man-made global warming now. There hasn't been any in the past, and there's no reason to expect any in the future. There's a whole lot of baloney. And yes, it has become a big political point of the Democratic Party and part of their platform, and I regret it's become political instead of scientific, but the science is on my side.
I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion about the topic right here. What I do wonder, though, is when you see...
because you wouldn't allow it to happen on CNN, but I'm happy that I got on the air and got a chance to talk to your viewers. Hello, everybody. There is no global warming.
What I do wonder is when you see the government, when you see NASA, when you see other institutions say that 97% of climate scientists agree, do you think they're making it up? What I don't understand is how you square that.
That's a manipulated figure, and let me explain it to you. The government puts out about $2.5 billion directly for climate research every year. It only gives that money to scientists who will produce scientific results that support the global warming hypothesis of the Democrat Party position. So they don't have any choice. If you're going to get the money, you got to support their position. Therefore, 97% of the scientific reports published support global warming. Why? Because those are the ones the government pays for, and that's where the money is. It's real simple, but that doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't make it true. That only makes it bought and paid for. The money goes in circles.
I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to try to refute you on the facts.
That's the truth.
I'll simply say that the vast majority...
Please stand back from this issue and let the two sides be on the air. There are 31,000 scientists who have signed a petition that says it is not valid, that my position is correct. And we'll keep battling, and we will prevail in time, but I don't know if we'll do it in my lifetime.
I do hope viewers are Googling the data you're sharing, because I do think it's skewed. I have to say that. I want to ask you about the weather.
No, it's not true, and I hope you will go to the websites that present the papers that show that none of this alarmism about ice and heat waves and drought, none of it is happening.
Is the Weather Channel part of the conspiracy?
Well, the Weather Channel has bought into it. as I say it, they've drunk the Kool-Aid. But so is all the media. That's no big surprise.
Let me read to you what the channel said this week, because
I
after you appeared on Fox...
Weather Channel statement.
Well, let me read it to the viewers then. Now, after you appeared on Fox, they did put out this statement distancing themselves from you. They said, Mr. Coleman does have a place in our company's history, and we appreciate the contributions that he made more than 30 years ago. However, we want to be clear, John Coleman is no longer affiliated with our company. How did you feel to see them disavow you in that way?
Well, no problem. I mean, that's all accurate. And the statement that's on their website, which they reissued this week,
right,
was written back in 2007. And that's a rather reasonable, warmist statement. It's not full of alarmism. It's not full of the sky is falling. It's a pretty reasonable statement. It's not the programming they put on the TV that's not reasonable. And when they put on their climate geeks, those aren't scientists. Those are nuts.
You sound like a man disappointed.
They never put on a real skeptical scientist. They don't give us any spot on their channel. That's too bad that they don't.
You sound like a man disappointed by the channel that you helped create.
Oh, I'm terribly disappointed. I created a channel to give people their weather, tell them what the weather is now and what it's going to be where they live and in their region, and keep them posted on the weather and serve a real purpose. And that channel has been totally distorted and become strange as it can be.